Hello, this is Dr. Obsidia. The Steam Summer Sale has just launched today. Let's take a look at some of the things that they're offering here. The Point Shop is kind of an interesting take on their old games and some of the Avatar stuff that they did. You can earn points through various means and you can see how the points work, but one way is of course buying. You're going to buy the games and things like that and you're going to get some points. You can use those points for different types of things, especially to buff up your profile or get some animated effects on your stickers and things for chat if you do those kinds of things. I do like to make my profile a little bit interesting. I am unable to load any of this right now because it's very laggy, but it does seem like you can add some animation to your avatar and also some frames to decorate your avatar. You can get some different backgrounds, maybe a badge and some kind of summer golden profile. They usually offer some kind of a golden event using cards and things like that that you can get some backgrounds or something like that. So check those out. It might be interesting. I haven't been able to load them yet. It's very laggy, as I said, and even though you see that everything's offline at the moment. So we'll see if we can get this fired back up here in a second. And we're back on the main page. So yeah, you will have some problems with the lag. But if you have made your wish list, you'll be able to check out all the games that you got discounts on. So check that out. Let's take a look at some of the things they're offering here. Borderlands 3 is now 50% off, and that game is rolling for well, probably around $60 US dollars there. Sorry that my money is down here in a different currency than dollars, but that's just because of the region where I'm at. But you get the idea. 50% off. It's probably going to be the same almost everywhere, although your store may be slightly different due to regional locks and things like that. Down here you can see the Total War series. We can talk about the Total War. It's down here, the franchise, here in a minute. That's quite interesting that they've always got a sale running during the Steam summer sale and the winter sale as well. And that, if you haven't had a chance to get into it, I highly recommend it. I'll be talking about that if you like that genre of games. Planet Coaster is 75% off. I've seen good things through other reviewers that have played with it since it was out very early, and it does sound pretty fun if you like those kind of theme park ride design games. Let's see. Of course, there's a whole bunch of stuff I'm going to skip over here and not talk that much about, but definitely check out some of the things that I'm brushing past, such as Dragon Quest if you're interested in like Minecraft type things. It does also have a very good review. 40% off. It's a pretty good deal if you're interested in those things. Although you could wait for a while. 40% off. The price will naturally drop over time. And then, of course, the sales will still be 40, 50, 75% off. You can get even better deals. Rolling down here to one of my favorite franchises, the Total War franchise. They're rolling with their latest game that came out, I guess you could say, is the Total War Three Kingdoms. That was the one that's based out of China. It's now 25% off. So that's a fairly good deal, but I heard that a lot of people are a little bit unhappy with it. It's getting better overall, but it's not quite as varied as some of the fantasy genre. Now, there's a lot of purists out there that are not really interested in the fantasy, but if you do like the fantasy genre, you know, dragons, elves, dwarves, orcs, and so on, beating each other up, you can't beat the Total War 1 and 2. Now, you get Total War 1, and then you get Total War 2, and you can actually run Total War 2, and it's linked with the Mortal Empires DLC to Total War Warhammer 1's map. So you have a huge map to play with and all the different factions. And the DLC carries over into that as well. But here it says an additional, there's just a road trip special that just popped up. So you get an additional $5. It's about $5 if you just want to remove these zeros. It's a rough estimate off of a $30 purchase. Their DLC is a pretty good deal at 50% off. They usually run those sales for about 50%. The 75% is really good for that. If you're going to jump on it, now's the time. I don't think it's going to get much cheaper in any of the sales for any time soon to come for Warhammer 1. Some of the DLC that I think that a lot of people like are the Norse God. Of course, if it's going to be cheaper, if it's going to be under $5 or so, it's something to jump on, I think. The Call of the Beastmen Some people like it, some people say it's all right, it's mixed, and most people don't like the Wood Elves. For $10, it's just they add a campaign. When they add the campaign and not just the race, it makes things not quite as good. They did complain about the race overall, so I think you could probably skip out on the Wood Elves. The Beastmen, you might want to get it, might not. The others, I do think they're pretty good. I haven't played Blood for the Blood God, but I've heard that it's pretty decent. Yeah, it's not that expensive either. Chaos Warriors, it's a good time to get it if you're going to get it. Grim in the Grave, the King and the Warlord. And also, if you get the Blood for the Blood God, it's, it just adds blood effects and things like this, so it's pretty decent. And it also carries over into Warhammer 2, so you only need to buy it once. You don't need to buy it in Warhammer 2 for the DLC there either. So let's back up here. And then Warhammer 2, if you do get that, it's a pretty good deal. It's at 66% off. I think that's great if you can get both of them. And the DLC is also pretty good, 25% off for the newer stuff. And that's not a bad price. It's still going to be over $5, but not much. You can get some of the other ones for about $5 that are decent. The Queen and the Crone is good. The Prophet and the Warlock is good if you like those factions. It's always fun to play with the Skaven. I think you probably got to have a good computer to run Skaven. You've got so many units that are running around. It can be a little bit laggy if you don't. A lot of people like Rise of the Tomb Kings. Who wouldn't like to play such a powerful faction? You can see it's very positive there as well. A lot of these are a little bit better than some of the other DLC. CA has kind of listened and done a lot to help out, and they have offered a lot of free little leaders and things. You have to go in and actually install those. You can't just get them for free. You actually have to go into the launcher and apply the update or something like that. You might want to check it out. Make sure that you actually have those installed when you go in. Otherwise, you think you've got them and you don't. Rome 2 was a disaster when it launched, but they've done a whole lot to fix it. If you want to back off of the fantasy genre, Rome 2 is still a great place to go. It's got a lot of mods that are out for it, and I highly recommend it if you're interested in that kind of era. You can always roll back to Shogun 2, which is one of their best games when it came out. I think they've always been kind of chasing how good they did with that game. Shogun 2 had the DLC that started earlier than the campaign in Shogun 2, and then also had the one that was the Fall of the Shogun, which started a little later with the gunpowder and things, and both of those were done really well. I really loved that game. I still go back and play it from time to time. Three Kingdoms, it's kind of up to you. If you really love the China concept, the Three Kingdoms and so on, it may be a fun thing to do. They made it both fantasy and realistic. So if you want to go to the romance of the Three Kingdoms style of epic leaders who can, kill hundreds of soldiers, then you can do that. Or you could just tone it down so that they're more realistic and they have their own little bodyguards and then they fight like normal generals. Attila, if you'd like Rome 2, Attila is another one that you might want to check out. It kind of went under the radar just a little bit because of some of the things that were going on with it, such as the destruction of the land as the climate changed. But it does have some pretty good mods for it too. And of course, if you want to roll back even further, you can go back to Napoleon or even Empire. There are some really good mods for both of these. And if you're interested in that, you're only paying about $5 or $6 for them. So that might be something to check out. And it works very well on older systems too. So if you like those kinds of Renaissance games or the Napoleon Age games, they've got ship combat, which was present all the way through Attila, Shogun, and Rome, but it disappeared once they got up to Warhammer. But those games do have pretty good AI if you install the mods. If you don't, then it's kind of lackluster, I think. You can tell I'm a Total War fan. Okay, moving on down here, we can see a couple other things that I might talk about. Here, The Walking Dead. This was a very famous Telltale game. Of course, Telltale went under, but they do have some great story to them. It's more of a story-based game. It does have a little bit of clicking skill, but not too much. But it is a very good game. So if you're going to start with the very first Walking Dead all the way back in the beginning, if you haven't played it, and go all the way through to the final season. It's a really good story. If you love The Walking Dead, you're gonna love this game. I really enjoyed playing, and I haven't played the final season because Telltale went under, so I was kind of worried they wouldn't finish it, but they have. So this is something I may pick up in the sale here. Zoo Tycoon is another one of those where you can make your own theme park, but it's based on animals and things. Might be something you like. I don't know if it's that popular. So here you can see them. It's got mixed reviews, but it might be a little bit different than something you're used to. Of course, can't bypass this one. Middle-earth, Shadow of War, all the Middle-earth games, both of them with all the expansions that came out were really amazing. When this one came out, it was not quite as hyped as the other one because it was a grind and they had all kinds of story things that extra purchases you had to make, mini transactions and things like that, and it just the community backlashed so hard on it that they removed it all. So all of that's removed. This is now a good game. It's really fun to play if you like these kinds of fast action beat 'em up games, and you have a lot of strategy involved in who you're putting in charge. You do lead your orcs, you get control of some of them, and you can try to take the fortresses and things. I really loved it. I do have some videos up on my channel, or maybe one video just to kind of introduce it in the early stages, so you can check it out on my channel if you're interested. Shadow Tactics Blaze of Shogun, I do have it. I was thinking about playing it as a video, and it is kind of fun. It is a tactical game strategy where you try to figure out, like the old Commando game, where you try to figure out the ways to beat the maps using the different classes, have them do their different stealth or their different tactics to get through the map. So that might be something that you're interested in problem solving. People really love this game. You can see it's overwhelmingly positive. So if that's kind of your thing, where you've got a big map and you're trying to figure out how to solve this problem using the different heroes, just like the old Commando game, this might be something that you'd be interested in. Here, Valkyrie Chronicles has come out with part 4 now, and it's now being discounted quite a bit. So if you are interested in all of that kind of role-playing RPG game, Final Fantasy style, but with tanks and guns, it is good. I played it quite a bit. I have not played Chronicles 4. Let's see. Scrolling down here, it's up to 75% off. We see over here the Sword Art Online. It is pretty good. I did like the anime. That was quite good. So I assume the games will be decent. If you're into the anime, that might be something you're interested in too. Battlefield, one of my favorite franchises. Battlefield 4 I played a lot and really enjoyed it. It is now on Steam. The EA games have started to move back to Steam, and this is a great place to get it. For $23 or about $22, $23, you can get Battlefield 4. The unfortunate thing is it might be a little hard to find servers. I'd have to verify my age here. It might be a little hard to find servers. There are 2 other Battlefields that have come out now. Battlefield 1 and then Battlefield 5, which is the World War II one. So you also have to consider getting the Ultimate Shortcut bundle, simply because you probably need to have all of the DLC. No, this is the one that just gives you a bunch of stuff. Sorry, that's not what you want. What you want to get is the Premium Edition for $23 or so. That's the one that will give you all of the expansions and things. However, like I said, you might want to check and see if there's servers in your area. I'm not really sure. I played Battlefield 1 and they're already starting to run out of servers a little bit in my area, but it kind of depends on where you're at. There's more of the Sword Art Online if you're interested. The Left 4 Dead bundle is fun if you like shooting up zombies. And of course, you can check out all the live gameplays if you're not sure how the things play out, because the devs do get together and play them to kind of highlight their games. There's some Steam releases too that are free to play if you don't have a lot of money. You can mess around with some of those. And then there's visual novels if you like visual novels, story-based things, and don't really have much of a interest in actually playing those games as much, rather than just kind of interacting slightly with the game and reading a good story. I wouldn't invest in Battlefield 3. I don't think that Battlefield 3 tops Battlefield 4. It is cheaper, but I don't think there's any servers for that, or if there is, there's not many left. Okay, all right. There's quite a few other things that are available, and like I said, some things may be different for each person. Some of the real-time strategy stuff we can check out here, because I do like real-time strategy a little bit. As I said, the Three Kingdoms. It's interesting that they did re-release Age of Empires. Hearts of Iron 4, that's actually pretty cheap. They got a lot of DLC though. You always got to watch out for Paradox games. They have a lot of DLC. Now you might be able to get the mobilization bundle, but see, it's already 40,000 or 40,000 won here, or $40, with 64% off for all of that. Now I have all of them except for the latest one, and I really enjoyed it. It's great for multiplayer. It does take a lot of effort to get into it. It's got a very steep learning curve, but once you get into it, it's one of those games where you'll spend hundreds and hundreds of hours in it, and I love playing it with my friends too. There's also the Paradox bundle. There's Stellaris here, which again is another one where very steep learning curve, lots of hours into it. Imperator Rome, Crusader Kings, all of these are steep learning curves. That's basically what Paradox's thing is, but it's going to give you a lot of hours into that if you're interested in those kinds of board game-like strategy games. And some of the older games, Company of Heroes and things. They are billions. I'm watching this. I'm interested in this. It's very positive. It is. It looks very fun. If you're interested in real-time strategy, basically you're fighting in a steampunk strategy game. You're building a base and you're trying to survive an endless wave of more and more powerful zombies as they come at you. So you're bound to lose, but it's fun to try to see how long you can hold out. Check it out if you're interested in that kind of thing. Let's go back here. Racing games and so on, if you're interested in that. Third-person shooter, a lot of people like third-person, first-person shooters. City building games, if you're into those kinds of strategy type stuff. City Skylines was just had a bundle on Humble Bundle where they had a whole bunch of their DLC and everything. So if you've missed that, you missed out a bit. Prison Architect, great game, very cheap, fun to run your own prison. They did release some DLC recently, and if you like running these kinds of management sims, Prison Architect is a good place to start. For only about $7 or $8, it's fun. I played a lot of Frostpunk. It does have a new expansion, and it is reasonably priced. It's got a pretty interesting story, and it's a little bit of a bleak game. It leaves you kind of feeling empty as you play it. You're running a group of survivors and trying to survive an endless winter. So it is kind of fun, but it keeps getting colder and people get sick, and it's interesting. Banished is also another one of those that you might want to check out if you're interested in those bleak survivor games where you're trying to turn the situation around. 4X strategy games. Of course, Sid Meier's Civilization 6 was free on Epic Games. If you boycotted Epic Games, now's the time you might want to jump on that. Again, Stellaris is here, but that does have a very steep learning curve. There's a bunch of DLC for Sid Meier's Civilization 6. Endless Legend is up there as well, which is the Civilization style game for endless space. Sins of the Solar Empire was fun, especially if you've got some people to play with. That space combat type game. Some of the third-person shooters that they have. PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, I'm sure you've heard of this, it's pretty popular. It does have only a mixed review, but look how many reviews it has, 1.2 million. A lot of people get bitter after they play for a while, they get beat up, and then they decide, nah, I don't like this game. So don't trust that. Read the reviews. If 1.2 million people are playing it, it has something good. And then of course we've got the EA games coming in here, such as Star Wars Battlefront 2. They've got a new Star Wars game in the pipe where it's you know, the squadron where you're flying the X-Wings and so on, and TIE fighters against each other. So I'm pretty excited about that. Well, where am I at here? Okay, let's see. Digital tabletop games. It's always fun to have those instead of buying the actual tabletop game, so you don't bend the cards or lose the dice, or your kids eat the chips, or your dog chews on the corner of the map. So that's a good thing to do, especially if you have your friends that you can't meet because of whatever reason, such as this COVID-19 situation or other. Horror games, if you like being scared, I'm sure there's quite a few. Management games, again, I do like these kinds of things. Dead Vinland is kind of fun. It's got a little bit of an interesting premise. You'd never have enough people to put in different locations to run stuff, but you're always kind of dealing with different stuff that comes up through the story. I think it's a decent game for 50% off. I could see. I usually consider about $1 per hour as a pretty good investment, and I could probably see putting more than 10 hours into that. Now, Rimworld, this doesn't ever come down very much, but this is a great game. You got to put mods on it, but if you like these sim-style, civilization-based games, I highly recommend checking out Rimworld. Just you go to a planet and you have to build an entire base, and you can expand out, and it depends on the mod. There's so many mods for it. There's so much you can do. Oxygen not included. Again, you go to a kind of asteroid. You're running around the asteroid. I do have this game. I played it quite a bit. You have to manage your little colony, and you have to manage the levels of gas and the food that you eat, and you make clones to run around, and they can be killed. But it is interesting, and how to manage the way that gas, CO2 is heavy, and it will fall down, but it will poison you, so you have to find ways to get oxygen down to it. You have to find ways to manage your CO2 levels and your toxins and so on. Okay. Of course, virtual reality. I do not have a VR headset, but if you have one, might be something interesting. Roguelike. I've always loved my roguelike games, such as Xcom, Darkest Dungeon. One of the story, the narrator in this just makes the story, and it's just overall a great game. It does have a sense of hopelessness to it, and if you like those kinds of drama, hopeless feelings, that's something you'll probably want to check out. I think it's a great game. The expansion for that does have some expansions here. We have, of course, a couple that are free. The Shield Breaker is very cheap, and it just adds another class, which is worth it. The Color of Madness and the Crimson Court you might want to hold off on until you check out the core game. These things add elements that may actually throw you off and make things quite a bit more difficult. You can always pick those up in winter or in the future. Check out the game first before you buy it. Although you probably could get the bundle, the Ancestor bundle or something, where it gives you everything. But I would just be careful. Maybe check out the core game before you try the other stuff, just in case it may overwhelm you too early. There's a lot to learn in it, and it is a little bit of a hard game. You have to manage both your hit points and your stress levels. And you can drive people insane, and they can do crazy things, or they could be inspired. We're not going to go into the other pages there. Hack and slash, stealth, there's a whole bunch of games to check out. Fighting games, if you like those beat 'em up. Turn-based games is one of my favorites, so we'll check out and see what they've got there. We've already talked about quite a bit. I'm actually running the XCOM 2 right now, my series, so check that out on my Steam account, or my my YouTube account, not my Steam account. Sports games, yeah. Oh wow, Pez is free right now. I guess maybe free to play. Is it free? I don't know. Maybe it's just the demo is free. Let's see. Yeah, the light game is free, so I'm not even sure what the light is. Pez has always been a competitor, and I have liked it more than FIFA, but that's just because I'm not a very serious soccer player here. I do like the football games, but FIFA seems, it's usually more expensive. It's quite a bit more in-depth, and I do love the Master League in Pez. NBA 2K. I've always loved the 2K series. I wish they would come back and make some more American football games, but of course Madden has the rights to that. They just got the rights to that for quite a long time, so you're not going to see them come out with anything football based for a while probably. But their NBA games have been fairly decent. I wouldn't say they're great, but if you do like the NBA, it might be something to check out, especially on sale. I mean, 85% off, that's hard to beat. Survival games are fun if you like those kind. Trying to survive in a difficult environment, building your shelters and things like that. Browsing the RPG stuff now. Skyrim. It's funny how Skyrim still hangs on to its price a little bit, even during the major sales. There was one lady who they call the Skyrim Grandma who does a YouTube channel, and she's very fun with the way she does her stories and things like that. And check her out if you're interested. She has a very soft voice. She's very comforting, and she makes little stories for her characters, and she talks to them. And she's a great lady. I really enjoy listening to her, and I highly recommend that. She just take your stress levels, you know, down several notches when you listen to her. Everyone calls her Grandma. Yeah, I could talk about that. I'll skip over that one. That's kind of a deep one to talk about. Assassin's Creed, of course, great game to get into. You can jump in anywhere you want, I think. Divinity Original Sin, I am now doing a playthrough with one of my friends. You can hear us both talking. We're kind of exploring the game together and figuring things out. It's not edited, so they're super long, but you may be able to flip through my channel and see some of the stuff we're doing. Mountain Blade Warband does have a Part 2 coming out, Mountain Blade Part 2. It is now in the early access. It is very popular. They said it's good. It does need more content, so you might want to hold off on that one. But if you're interested to just see how the old one went, it is still fun. It's an older engine. I didn't like the Viking Conquest DLC, but I do know that it's good. It's just not quite my style. Dark Souls, always good. 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, here's the mount in Warblade 2, now 20% off the Bannerlord. This is still in early access, but it is getting good reviews overall, and that even with it not being completed, I'm sure it's going to come out and be great. They're still adding content, they're still adding great stuff. People are very excited about where this game is going, and I'm definitely going to pull the trigger on this. Probably once it gets out of early access. I'm not sure yet. I got a lot of stuff to play, so I definitely want to get that. That was one I probably put several hundred hours into over time. Stardew Valley for $10, very popular game. Nice kind of, you run your own farm and things like that. Get resources, sell things, get to know the townspeople, have different holidays and things. Quite interesting game. I did play that for quite a bit. Probably about 20 hours into it. Okay, I could go on and on and on. There's so many great deals going on right now. It's going to be hard to just cover every single thing to talk about, but you might be very interested in some of the stuff. And I do have a lot of these games already, actually. I've been investing in Humble Bundle quite a bit through the years. So if you are interested in some of these, maybe I have them. You can recommend them. Thanks for joining. Check out some of these deals. Make sure you get on this before it disappears. It is going on until July 9th. So you've got a couple weeks to check it out. And I think that you'll find something, at least something you're interested in. And I already see, like I said, the road trip special. You can get a little bit of money back if you save. You can save $5 on a $30 checkout. So I'm sure we could all throw some money at this and get some good games. And even if you don't have much, you might be able to find an older game for a really good price. Love the Steam summer sales. Love the winter sales. And I always pull the trigger on some of the games that I'm waiting on. Of course, finding the time to play them is a totally different story, right? All right, you guys take care. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next episode. Please join. Please check out my channel. Please subscribe. Please like. And check out some of my longer XCOM game playthroughs that I'm doing right now. And if you're interested in any of the other content, make sure you comment on it. I can always revisit things or go to some of the games that I haven't even touched yet. So take care, and I'll see you in the next episode.